welcome to another episode of Solar Roundtable Africa. My name is Jadi Solarawa, and this is brought to you by Allon. And today we have a very special guest in the studio. He says it's his first time at a podcast, so I'm very excited that we're the ones, I cannot use the word on air, but so I'm very excited to talk to him today. And today we're going to be talking to Chuks Umezulora. Yes. And Chuks is the owner and founder of Oxano Limited. And I'm very excited to have you here, Chuks. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, good morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. So today our conversation is going to be around something a bit different. We're talking about manufacturing because that's the core of what Chuks is into and what he does. But, before we start talking about manufacturing and all of that, I want to talk to you tell us a bit about how you started, because your story is a very interesting one, and I think it's something that the world needs to hear. Because if I remember correctly, you started from the markets, and then you've grown to the space where, you own a factory, and it's probably arguably the first factory manufacturing solar PVs in Nigeria. So tell us a little bit about your background and where you're coming from.
All right. So thank you so much for having me, Jade. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here at the Solar Africa Roundtable. Yeah. So once again, my name is Chris Umezulora, co-founder, CEO of Oxano Solar Nigeria Limited. So for us, Oxano Solar were formally incorporated in 2014. Based in Lagos, Nigeria. So, but before the formal incorporation, I've been in the field. I've been active in the field. I ventured into solar ecosystem by accident. I think that was sometime in 2006. Just fresh from school, I finished my National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria. So I came to Lagos. to look for a job.
Like everybody does.
Yeah. So because I grew up in Onitsha, Southeast Nigeria, Anambra State, so I recall then my dad told me that I'm too innocent to do business. So that is better I go and find a job. And that was why I came to Lagos. So, but when I wrote a few bank interviews, I said, no, this doesn't make sense.
It wasn't jelly.
Yeah, it wasn't jelly. I recall when I wrote in Unilag, I think for First Bank, they said they were looking for 100 placements. We are like 5,000 that wrote it. When I came out here, I said, what am I doing here? I said, this is madness. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
100, 5,000. I said, no. That's, You
were interested in taking your chances.
Yeah. So what I did then is, and I said, okay, I reached out to a few friends who are in the market. I remember precisely then, although at the market where they sell building materials. So I told them, I said, instead of staying at home, writing bank interviews, can I follow you out to the market, come out to the shop?
Hold on a second. What did you even study in school?
Okay, I studied industrial chemistry.
And you were looking for banking.
Yeah,
it's the Nigerian story.
Few years back, banks were actually like the only one giving jobs.
Yeah.
Initially, it was oil company.
Yeah.
And I also tried my beat. I spent some time in Abuja, like 6 months after youth service, going to NNPC, looking for a job. After 6 months. So one of the things about me is I'm a bit pragmatic. So I tell myself, no, this is not working.
Yeah.
I spent 6 months in Abuja. They were asking me for referral. Who's your father? Complimentary card. I just realized that no, I don't have any place here. That my surname doesn't ring any bells.
Like most of us. So fast forward going to the market and saying, what can I do here?
So that was what, brought me. So in building the building materials, supplying building materials. So I have a few friends who I started supplying building materials to. So on that particular day, one of them, I had to pick up a building plan from his architect. So I went there in Amodafin, in Lagos. So I saw some Chinese there discussing. I asked him, sorry, what are they talking about? He said solar. It got my interest. I said solar. I said, when I was in school, I read a bit about this. I'm interested. So I sat back, listened to their training. They were talking about solar system, the installation, design and all that. So I asked the man, I said, please, are they coming again tomorrow? He said, yeah, they're here for 3 days. I said, please, can I come for the 3 days? He said, sure. So I went there for the 3 days, yeah. So after that, I asked him, sir, can I work with you? He said, no, that he's just starting, he cannot afford to pay and all that. I told him, no, there's no problem. That let's structure something. I can work for free, but I mean, I'm going to work 3 times in a week. So we agreed.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was working Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I used Tuesdays and Thursdays for my side hustle. To try to, put food on the table for the family.
It's so interesting. Do you know how many conversations you and I have had? I've never gotten this in depth with you about how you started.
Yeah. So that was how I got into solar. So, I worked for the company, Sky Resources. So, I was part of their installation team. So I started out working with the installation team. So we're doing installations and all that, Then after 2-3 years, I told him, I've tried, I think it's time for me to leave and start on my own. That was how I now led me to the next stage of going into the market, Alaba International. So Alaba International, like some of you may be aware, is arguably the largest market in West Africa. So it's a market where you can find anything. Anything you cannot find in Alaba does not exist. It doesn't exist. And then, I know people have their mindset about the market, but to be honest, as someone who spent over 8 years there, sitting there every day, I can tell you one thing about the market. You have the good, the bad, the ugly there. So depending on what you're looking for and what you're willing to pay. So what I found is that most times people are too conscious about price, so they give you what
they will give you, because one of the things I heard about, one of the things I heard about China recently is someone said, look, the interesting thing about the Chinese market is they will give you what you're paying for. People talk about how poor the quality is, but it's what you paid for. Yeah,
it's what you paid for. What I tell most of my Chinese suppliers is this. I tell them, I say, please, the price is not the most important thing to me.
It's the
once I get to a price range that is not possible, tell me.
Absolutely.
I get them and all that. So the challenge with some of them is as you're pushing them on price, they're reducing it. I'm pushing them on price, they will not come back and say, if you drop this price, this is what we're removing.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is they're actually removing something.
Wow.
That's the truth.
So that's how the dynamics for that works.
Yes, that's how it works. So you need to let the supplier know what is most important to you. So that was how I started. So I got into the market in Alaba International. So, I saved a few money. I was able to get an office. So I had a table, a chair in my office then. So what I did was very simple. I went around the market, introduced myself to the importers in the market, as an engineer, as a technician. So my job was pretty simple. If you come to the market now, you want to buy something, the guy will call me. He say, engineer, come. So I'll come, you talk what you need. I'll just design. So, okay, you need 9 panels, you need 2 batteries, you need 1 inverter. Then the importers sell to you. Then I follow you home to do the installation. Yeah. So that was basically how I started.
This is the moment where I say that when people say to me all the time that there isn't anything to do in Nigeria, I'm confused because you literally made something out of nothing. And so when young people say, oh, I don't have anything to do, I'm like, this story tells you that there's always something to do.
Yeah. So I tell people this, and sometimes, maybe I'm an incurable optimist.
And your father said you were innocent, so let's join innocent and incurable optimist. Keep going.
So one of the things I learned, that time was don't stay at home.
Yeah.
Go out. Volunteer.
You have to find something to do.
Do something. So I learned very early, it's better to work for free than to stay idle. So I'd rather take up a job without pay than stay at home.
Sure.
Because opportunities meet you doing something.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that I learned. Because from following people to do those installations. And guess what? Let me tell you something. I do solar installations, but I have height phobia.
Okay.
I do not climb roofs.
So how did you navigate that? Because I know for a fact that you have to climb something.
Yeah. So and why I'm saying that is, so I'm telling people, so it doesn't really have to be something you're good in.
Yeah.
To be honest.
True.
There's this popular saying that when there is a will, there's a way.
True.
Negative and all that. So I wanted to do this, but I couldn't get over the phobia I have for height. So what I did was, when I get a job, I go to the vicinity, ask the man, okay, do you have an electrician? Do you have a carpenter? If they do, if they don't, I look around there. Yeah. So I found a carpenter and electrician.
Okay.
I'll call them. I'll tell the carpenter, okay, you will help me climb the roof. This is how you mount the profile. This is how you fix the panel. So sometimes I try to just get a bit to look at, to inspect what he's doing. I say, you plug this one to that, you plug this one to that. That was how I started.
Wow.
That led me to the next principle I learned in business, and that is responsibility. So soon after, I had to hire people. So I learned something that, so when you have people you're responsible for, it makes you more accountable.
True.
Yeah. So because I need to pay salary.
I was going to be like, there's nothing that scares you more than the end of the month. When 22 is rolling by.
Once it enters into 20 something, I have the natural bells that ring in my head.
Straight up.
So, I mean, even if I was not feeling well, once you get that 20 something.
Jump out of it.
Yeah. I still remember something that happened to me years back. I mean, still young. I just got married. I had my first baby. I wasn't feeling well. So I was lying down. It was raining. A woman called me earlier that morning. I told her, that she wants me to come and do installation for her. I told her mother. I said, Aja. And then I was living in Ojo, Alaba International side.
Oh.
I said, I'm not feeling too well. I won't be able to come. If you can wait till tomorrow, maybe I can. I said, okay, I should try to see if I can get someone else. Maybe 1 hour later, my wife came in, said, that there's
baby
food. I said, serious? And I said, okay, check my wallet. She checked, there was no money there. And I said, what of the store we usually collect? He said, we've not paid for the last one. And she can't get.
And on that note, so you reach out.
I picked up my phone. I called her back. I said, sorry, ma, he's the guy you called before.
I'm well now.
Have you gotten someone else? He says, no. I said, please send me the address. I'm willing to come. He says, then let's discuss the price. I said, no, the price is not a problem. She said, okay, I can pay 15,000. I said, I'm on my way. I get my and all that. I felt it was better for me to borrow money for transport rather than to borrow for baby milk and care.
Yeah.
I get him and all that. And that was how why I say that is immediately that reality dawned on me. All feelings of I was feeling just went off. So most of the times, the things we feel are more mental, than real.
Yeah.
So those are the
I mean, see, like you said, it's an important word that you used. You said responsibility.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty much one of the things that helps you to go after the things you need to go.
Yeah.
If you have a natural sense of responsibility, that's one.
Yeah.
Or they're just people depending on you, And that brings me to the other question I was going to ask you. So, I mean, you've shared a very interesting story of how you go into the space. So just in all the years you've been in this space, what would you say is some of the impacts that your work has made that has made you say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I got into the space because I needed a source of livelihood, but I know that what I'm doing is making a difference, and it just gives you a warm feeling of, I'm doing this. So it could be anything, just anything that, that speaks to the impacts of your work.
Yeah, I mean, so, some of the things we do is very hard to do if you're not passionate. I always tell, my colleagues in the office, passion cannot be faked.
True.
It's either you're passionate.
Passion cannot be faked. Yeah,
it can be faked. But you can develop passion. You can become more passionate with working with passionate people. Because sometimes energy can be transferred.
Mm-hmm.
Energy can be, if you do some
True.
physics, energy can be transferred. So one of the things that motivated us was, apart from trying to just survive. So when I started doing the installations, from there I started doing pretty well, because what happens is that people relate to the one that listens.
Sure.
So those people are in store for, even though I got to them through the importers. After some time, instead of them to call the importers to call me, they will not call me. So I will not call the importers. So after some time, I started stocking some things myself. So when you not call me, I have my own.
You have your own stock.
Yes,
yeah.
I'll come and install. So that was one. So one of the things I learned very early is people will never forget how you make them feel.
Sure.
So I do my best to treat people well. And I learned something very early. When you do something good, people are happy, but they may not tell someone else.
Yeah.
But if they are dissatisfied, they will tell at least 5 people.
Oh, yeah.
So because of that, I do more to try to satisfy a customer that had complaints.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give a very simple example. Yesterday afternoon, a customer called me. I mean, that some of my guys, his inverter was bad since February. They're trying to get a new board and all that, and I told him, okay, send it to me. Sorry about that. I wasn't aware and all that. So he sent me. I learned that the customer has been a customer since 2019.
Wow.
When I called my guys, I said, what's the problem? He says the board is not available, blah, blah. I said, please take a new inverter. Go and install for the man. Because I realized that we've gotten like 5 referrals from him.
From this person, yeah.
And if we don't take care of it, he will tell those 5 plus another 5.
Yeah.
I get him and all that. So, so I'm always careful about that. Why starting out in the space, one of the things that made us to start going into a bit of manufacturing was, so of course, like most things, we started having some quality issues.
Absolutely.
So when we started having that, so it started with the batteries, with the inverter. When I now saw that on solar panel, I said, no, if it happens in solar panel, to kill the sector.
Yeah.
So we now said, okay, so what can we do? So initially we thought of a simulator. So a simulator is called like a solar module tester, but it's quite bulky. It's larger than the stable, maybe twice of the stable size. So we wanted to buy that. We looked at it, we said, well, this is quite bulky. It won't fit into my office. We're going to keep it and all that. So on the second thought, we said, okay, maybe why not we take it a step further, to just start assembling so that we can be sure of what we're offering to the customers.
To the public, yeah.
So one of the things that led us into all this is, okay, we want to be more in control. So when a customer have a problem, I want to be able to solve the problem.
Yeah.
I get him and all that. I'm trying to solve it, but I need to know more about the product, more about the technology. So that was what led us into all this, So trying to solve that problem led us into this.
Manufacturing.
One of the things about life is, so when you solve this problem, you notice a new problem.
Yeah.
Try to solve that problem, So, I mean, that's what brought us.
It's interesting that, and I'm glad that you've I love the way this conversation is going, because it's literally just going seamlessly to, so, I mean, people might not know, but Chuks, like I mentioned in the intro, has started one of arguably the first solar assembly plants in Nigeria. And I remember when I had come with my boss then, on a visit to your former place in Ojo, and there were these young ladies that were, like coupling things, and it was interesting because I noticed the weirdest things, right? One of the ladies, her lashes was done, she had full face of makeup, and you can imagine someone that is the epitome of femininity in a space that is very technical. She's assembling things and she's, putting things together. And I remember talking to her and she said, she had gone to like a makeup school and all of that, but she was in your space. And I've never forgotten that, because it's like 2 different worlds colliding, and, just talking to the young people that, that you work with, you can tell how much the work that they do means to them. So what has that done for you in terms of, like, let's leave the Naira and Kobo now. Yeah, you're doing this business because you want to make a living. But these young people, tell us a bit more about these people that work in your plant and how this has made a difference in their lives.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I'm sure it's the same for most entrepreneurs. So the people that work with you are arguably one of the biggest reasons why you will never give up.
Sure.
I mean, but sometimes my wife complains. She says, why do you have too many staffs? Why do you have to pay a lot of wage bill and all that? And there was something that happened. I think that was around sometime about it at 2019 or so. I think Goodluck Jonathan was the president then. There was something that the government did where, I mean, it was like a business pitch. I've forgotten the name, but when you pitch, so they'll provide some grants.
Okay.
I
think I vaguely remember,
Yeah. And all that. So I got to the last stage. I remember that I went to Abuja for the last stage. So on the last interview, so they asked me what I do, what I'm trying to do, my solution. I told them. The guy said, but that I don't sound as though I'm helpless. I said, yeah, I'm not helpless.
Yeah.
So they said that they are looking for those who are helpless, those who doesn't have anybody to help them. I said, okay, that I didn't get that profile. Well, I mean, I thought they were looking for entrepreneurs who are willing to create jobs.
Yeah.
And all that, I said, no, I've never thought of myself as being helpless, so I told him something, but I mean, that if that is the criteria, that I'm not sure I'm the best fit for it, that they can find other people who are helpless, but that I will still go on and do what I need to do, so I told him, I said, I have a goal to create a business that at least I will have 100 people working with me, and that was one of the reasons why I've gone ahead, trying to do, what I do.
You do.
Yeah. So the people that work with me are one of the, to be honest, I think more about people who work with me more than I think about my investors, to be honest, because without those people, you are nothing.
Yeah.
I get him. That's the truth, so what I try to do is I wake up thinking about them. I go to work thinking about them. So, and, I tell people, I say, I mean, they will get paid first. I'll get paid
last. Absolutely.
I get and all that. So if we don't have enough, they will get paid first, so why I wait? So that thinking is also what I also try to pass on to them, that feeling of value, because it's okay to make profit. But when you face challenges, the motivation to make profit may not be enough.
Yeah.
You need something deeper.
Deeper than that.
You need something deeper than that, And that's when, compassion comes in, empathy comes in, and passion comes in, so that thing, I always tell my people who work with me, for example, for us, I mean, we tell ourselves that until the customer is satisfied that our job is not done, so if I do a solution for you and you're not happy, I'm also not happy. Because at the end of the day, for me, the primary thing to me is not the money you're paying me. But I know I'm providing a solution, services to you. So if you're happy about it, I'm happy. If you're not happy, I'm not. So I will keep going out until you're satisfied, So that same thing is what I try to sell, the people who are working to me. I think my most important job is to keep the team motivated. Keep the team motivated, because I realized something, that people will leave when they're not motivated. I realized sometimes with the right motivation, you can keep a staff even when the pay is not the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's about the environment sometimes, you want to be, I mean, it goes beyond the naira and the kobo sometimes. You want to be in a place where you're happy and where you feel like, you matter. Yes. Everybody is important. Everybody is important, and you want to feel like you matter. When you
and that's why sometimes one of the things I hate to do the most as a business owner
is to fire someone.
Is to fire people.
But sometimes it's necessary.
I know.
You have to do what you have to do. Sometimes that's the only solution.
And most times I delegate it to someone else. Because I can't stand.
So let's add innocence. What was the other one? And then now scared to fire.
So but that wisdom I learned is slow to hire. So I,
you take your time.
My time to hire.
Like I could talk to you all day, but I know that we have to manage time. So I have a couple of questions, before we round this up and everything. One of the questions, the first one is, to a young person listening now that just finished their youth service the way you did like decades ago, and is in that position that is like, what can I do? What do I do? What are some of the opportunities within the renewable energy space that you think that a young person that has the same thought process, pragmatic, and just wants to do something with their life, what are some of the opportunities that in the renewable energy space now that you think that, maybe just give me 2 or 3 that you think that they can tap into as like low-hanging fruits for people to at least make a living?
So for me, the low-hanging fruits haven't changed even over time. If I want to start again now, I'll still start from installation. Installation for me is the lowest hanging fruit. Why is that so? Everybody knows someone. So if you got into a space, you know someone who needs this solution. I get me. So even if you don't know anything about it, you can be the middleman. You can approach the person, then get someone else to do it. I get him and all that. So you can start with that. And then go out. I mean, you can join the company like I did. You can work for free. It may not be as long as I did, for 2 to 3 years, even if it's for 1 month or 2, because you need to learn. So you need to learn. And sometimes the best way to learn is to learn on the job.
Absolutely.
So for me, installation is still one of the low-hanging fruits. The other way is, you can make some commission on sales. You find out somebody who needs this, you find out who has it.
Yeah, be like a middleman type
like
person.
Middleman, kind of thing. Yeah, so those for me are some of the things that I think, that young people can start with.
Within the space now.
Yeah, so why they begin to build. Yeah, I really, the only thing I see that is changing is that the industry seems to be changing. I think the bigger businesses are making it difficult for the smaller ones to coexist. So.
I mean, right from time, that's always been the challenge and everything. But you kind of still have to find a way to navigate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing they can also do is, so you start where you are with what you have. So for example, when you learn this, because I'll give an example. So when I was working with the company, there was a time my boss ordered a 40-foot container of solar garden lights and all that. So I heard him complain that he's not sure where to sell this and all that. I told him, you know what? Let me talk to my dad. Because I know my dad has a warehouse in Onitsha that I can market this things in Onitsha. I spoke to my dad. He said, okay, it's fine that we can use this warehouse. I told him, okay, let's offload this in Onitsha. And I went back to Onitsha for a few months to go and market those products. I was able to sell most of them for him. Why? I realized something in marketing. You must start from the known to the unknown.
Yeah.
It's hard to sell to strangers. It's hard. So your biggest assets is friends and family. Who knows you? So if people know you for something else, I get him. Because one of the things I also learned very early is that integrity can also be an asset.
Yeah. When people know that your word stands for something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when I tell you that I'm giving this garden lamp, I'll give you 2 years warranty on it. They know that in the other things I've said in the past that I've delivered. So they will buy. So what I've learned is, I tried to market 1 week, nobody was buying. They will always ask me, has your father bought it? I had to go to my dad. I say, please, buy.
Yeah. And so I can tell them truthfully that you bought.
Immediately he bought, they started buying. So let them start where they are with who they know.
Yeah. Well, we need to thank Papa Chuks for a lot of things, because first he told you you're too innocent, so can't get something to do. But I mean, I think I could talk to you forever, because this conversation has just been so interesting. But just very quickly as we round up, you've been in this manufacturing space for a minute now, and you commissioned your plant, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced in that time? And just very quickly, I always say, you will get problem, you must know the solution. So what is the problem? What is the solution? You never know. The right person might be listening to this.
Yeah.
That'll be able to say, you know what, that makes sense. Let's solve it. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, our first venture into the manufacturing was in 2016, and then later on in 2023, we now built the new factory at Lekki, Lagos. And thanks to the support from Allon, and then USADF has also supported us, and Bank of Industry over the years, and like I said, but the support started from friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are the ones that were backing me before Allon came along, yeah. The major challenges to manufacturing in Nigeria is financing, because most of the financing frameworks that we have are short-termed. So the banks, they want to give you money for you to return in 2 years.
And that can't work for manufacturing at all.
So because manufacturing, you have a huge CapEx, that you need 5 to 7 years spread, to even recoup it. I'm talking about, making some distant profit. So that financing is one. Then the other thing that also happens is banks always want a signed off tick, and that is a problem. It's easier for someone in mini-grid space to go to a community and get signed off tick, go to REA, get an MOU.
Yeah.
But for us in manufacturing, it's not so easy. It's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult, because you're trying to sell to almost everybody yet you're selling to nobody.
Yeah.
All that, so it's, so that's that. And, but that guaranteed offtake is a huge thing for finance, and the banks always ask for that. So sometimes in my head, when I talk with people, I say, because And that offtake, that guarantee is also the problem where we struggle with financing.
Yeah.
Because even
it's kind of like a cyclical problem.
It's cycle.
Yeah.
Even Bank of Industry, they have money. They're willing to give you money for 5 years, at a reduced interest rate, but they need a bank guarantee. That financing thing needs to be solved, especially on the side of this and the guarantee. So recently when I was talking with someone, I was saying, so why can't government provide me the guarantee? Why can't government provide the manufacturers the guarantee? Or why can't government create a fast track, a special policy framework for manufacturers? Because Bank of Industry is owned by Nigerian government. So why can't Nigerian government tell Bank of Industry, okay, we want to open up the space. For this time, we're providing them this guarantee, maybe each of them 20 megawatts. So whatever it is, so the 20 megawatts, we are taking the guarantee provide them the finance, how you get them and all that, because if not, we'll keep going around in circles. If not, we'll keep going around in circles, So that's one. The other thing is government can also become a solid off-taker. Government, if you look at government agencies, you will see billions of naira for solar projects. So we keep saying, why can't agencies, maybe like Rural Education Agency, for example, why can't they assign a certain percentage of their budget for local purchases?
For off-taking.
Yes, for off-taking.
Locally manufactured products. Yeah.
So when you are bidding for a job, Aria will tell you, okay, tell us the spec of the panels that you need, but don't quote for the panels. We will supply you the panels. Are you getting me? So that way, Aria provides guaranteed offtake for the manufacturers. And Aria also gets some savings because they are buying those panels now directly.
Locally, without having to bring in.
Yeah, and even the predictability on time is also
and all of that,
more assured. So that way is more sustainable. Yeah.
Absolutely. We could go on and on, but I'm just glad that we had this conversation. Like I said, I've known you for a number of years, and just the depth of how you started and how inspiring that is. All I can do and say is I applaud you because it takes a lot. I know you went into this for the Naira and Kobo, but like you said, you've developed a passion for the space that you're in. And I hope that any young person out there listening, to this will be able to relate and say, okay, you know what, if Chuks can do it, why can't I do it, And hopefully we can replicate a lot more Chuks in the years to come. Thank you very much for joining me on this podcast today. I'm super excited we had this conversation. And I hope that if you've listened to this podcast today, you've learned a thing or two, you're inspired, and you also will go out there and just, take the bull by the horns the way that Chuks did and be innocent and have integrity like Chuks Daddy said. So until you join me for the next episode of the Solar Roundtable, it's bye from now.